Okay, welcome. Sorry, running a little late today. Some of you will know my wife was at the Apple event yesterday, so I have to look after the dog and everything else. And when she's demanding, she's belligerent, and it just means I can't trade the open sometimes. But we had a nice call in the room. So what were we looking for? Same thing we talked about yesterday on stream. It's really, really important to always understand the higher time frame narrative and levels. So if you look at this chart right here, the H1, right, you'll notice that we drove back into these levels of supply where we broke down from. To make that even cleaner, exactly what we talked about yesterday on stream, all right, on a daily level, we back tested this Thursday and Wednesday failure. So these wicks up here, these low of days, this is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. All right, Monday tried to get up there. Tuesday, we finally got up there and went wick to wick. All right, so that was a key level that we broke down from. So when you break key levels like this and support, and we have a strong candle like that, you can often wait for a reprice and retest of that old support, which becomes resistance. Really, really simple, okay? But you have to be seeing it on a higher time frame level. So we were looking for that push today and a possible failure into that level, which is what we had on that morning shove up, all right? So if I go now to the lower time frames, all right, you will notice that market overnight was very, very strong, okay? We were in a really nice buy signal from 6 a.m. market time. Okay, and we started to grind and push up, all right, and then off the market open, we had that nice drive up right into that daily level that we just talked about, and a failure point back to the deep pullback. All right, if you see right here, this is your deep pullback wave, flow zone deep pullback. We held, we grinded, we tested once, we reclaimed momos, we tested a third time, and we failed that third time. So very simply, if you wanted to think about where people were trapped, right, they were trapped in this zone here, and on a lower time frame that provided the liquidity for that deep move down. Now that deep move down was back to the London high, okay, the London high. So if you mark out your charts overnight, you will see right here, all right, this is your London session. So we took out all the liquidity from the New York Open. Anyone who is bullish is now underwater, and we came down and we held that London high. Now, what am I expecting for the rest of the day? Quite frankly, I'm not fully sure. I'm waiting for a pro trend to set up. Remember, the pro trend is to the downside right now. The pro trend is to the downside, which means we need to wait for multiple timeframes to be in agreement. And if we're going to get that, all right, we can think about all this action on the H1 possibly becoming the liquidity for a bear flag for a continuation move to the downside, something like this, all right? If it does that, it will complete a cup or something like this. And at this point, we don't know if buyers are going to step in. So this would be a potential cover point, and we can extend this bit over. It's exactly the same level we've been waiting for. If we do that, then later in the week, we can think about a handle and an extension down. If it does not complete that cup, all right, if it simply comes back and starts to trap, maybe it's going to dig higher. There is clearly some resting liquidity up here at 18,972, and then you have all these tops up here right into the 1900s, okay? So waiting for pro trend is going to be key. There is not a lot of news today, which can often make it a little bit harder because the market's going to want to build more liquidity. On top of that, we have Fed speakers and we have the big political debate tonight. Looking across the board, the Mag 7 is pretty much all green. It is small green mainly across the board. They have started to sell off in the last 20 minutes, which is why you're seeing weakness in the NQ. So you've got Tesla up 3%, Nvidia pretty much flat, Meta pretty much flat, Google up almost 1%, Amazon up 1.7%, Microsoft up 2%, and Apple continues to sell. All right, it struggled at that 220 level. So yesterday you had a sell the news event. All right, they pushed up into that news event and started selling. On top of that, it lost a law case that I saw hit the wire yesterday, so it's going to have to pay back some money, which is going to into its bottom line. All right, so that's what we're looking at in tech. Having a little look across the board. All right, so we've got the VIX now has put in its bottom, it's curling and it's approaching 20. So I would say a break of 2027, you might as well call it 2025, can lead to an extension in the VIX up to 2120. If we get that, then we can expect weakness in the market. All right, weakness in the market if the VIX starts to trade to the upside. Looking at the Qs then, the cash gap. Where did we close yesterday? Pretty much where we're coming into right now, which is why we are likely to find a small amount of bid support in this level. And if we fail that, then the pre-market low is way down at 452. We're also having weakness in the ES across the board. So fairly balanced right now, but the trend is most definitely high time frame to the downside. So now we just have to figure out, is there a good trade to take? All right, so just like yesterday, unfortunately, I probably missed the trade of the day, walking the dog, sod's law. That is how it is sometimes. Can't always get what we want. So we're just going to wait here. So going back to a lower time frame chart, you will see the lower time frame is in a trend bearish. The higher time frame right now is saying it is in a trend bullish. The reason for that is that we are above the algorithm, right? The higher time frame algorithm is here, and the lower time frame algorithm is here. So they're very, very tightly put together. So you'll notice once we failed, we got this sell signal, we came down into the higher time frame algorithm, we pushed back up to the flow zones, and now we're going to retest this higher time frame algorithm. If we start to sell here, okay, and you have to be very aware of those London levels and also yesterday's daily levels, okay, so we are currently sitting at yesterday's close. If you look at a daily, we are at yesterday's close and yesterday's high is at around 32. So that should be printing on here somewhere. Right here, this red line, that's yesterday's high. And this white line is yesterday's close. So we're looking at that failure, and an auction below that will see further pressure to the downside, but you must be aware of the overnight levels. So let's look where we have some potential liquidity for these spots. All right, so if we're really going to get weak, we can think about possible areas like this to come and attack. All right, that's definitely the low pivot. We have to be aware of all this liquidity, all right, because this is where we found bid support and broke out from. So I expect some buyers to step in this area, all right, so you don't really want to be taking shorts too low into that. We might very well hold that London high, which we look like we're doing right now. All right, that's pretty much the analysis coming into right now. This blue line is my 5-day SMA, which always becomes very, very pivotal. We love to back test that 5-day SMA before creating more room on Bollinger Bands for further downside moves. Okay, so we've pretty much completed that back test. If the market really wanted to do a mean reversion and go all the way back up to the 20-day, it's going to take some time. The 20-day is currently sat right up at 19,360. Right, I'd expect that to sort of start trending down and probably come to around 19,150, and that will be that back test of the daily supply block when we did the drop-based drop before having that big move down, all right, last week. So these are the levels I'm looking at right now. There is absolutely no position for me to be thinking about taking. All right, I missed a very nice short up here. This was trade of the day. Stuff into the daily level, failure of trend right here, okay, and a rotation down. So if you took that at let's call it 70 or 60, if you followed that down, you had your cover points, VWAP, lower time frame, high time frame, previous day close. All right, really nice trade there. So now we just need to wait and see if it's going to build liquidity. We have 3 minutes left until an initial balance, and once that initial balance prints, we can see where we're at. It's very, very probable today that we're going to have a very choppy day, and we might just trade from the initial balances. If you think about what we did yesterday, we talked about how yesterday was going to build liquidity. It did something very similar, but probably with bigger range. So if we come back to yesterday, all right, we were talking about this initial balance. Once we had this failed auction Underneath the IB low, we traded up to the IB high, back to the IB low, up to the IB high, all right? We can expect a similar type of thing today because there is a lack of liquidity and a lack of news. So even this move here is between the initial balance from yesterday. So now we need to wait and just wait and see what we are going to get today. All right, but for now, chop but downtrend pressure. Higher time frame is in downtrend pressure. Remember that. I know it says here it's an uptrend. That's based on what this screen is showing. But if we go above this screen, if we're looking at an hourly chart, if we're looking at a daily chart, the trend is most definitely to the downside. So anything upside for now is a counter trend pullback on the daily. All right, hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Lots of information to take on there. So we're just going to wait now. If we can start to clear out these levels and sustain a bid above the IB high, we can think about longs. If we start sustaining bids below the IB low, we can think about shorts. But for now, the point of control on the week, right, if we just flip over to a high time frame chart, if you look at this on the hourly, all right, the point of control is moving up. It's moved from this low to this to this. So we are moving volume upside from now on this counter trend. So it might want to come and test some of these old points of control. So this one here would be, let's call it 950, and then above that, that big supply block up at 19,150. All right, so those are the kind of levels we're looking at, higher time frame for pullbacks. We are not going to go pro trend long until we start to clear out some of these order blocks here. All right, and then you would be looking for something like this, all right, higher time frame, and you can join above here. All right, really, really simple at that point. But for now, we have to wait. All right, my bias is downside on the week, but ideally we print a new high today and we print a new weekly high today. That would be ideal. Good morning, everyone in chat. Sorry, just seeing that now. Sorry, I missed you guys in the room today, this morning. Did any of you get that stuff into the daily levels, that first retest of those 2 wicks from last week? Did anyone catch that? Hopefully someone got it, or a piece, or at least didn't get caught, even if you traded up to it. All right, so now we have our initial balance printed. All right, initial balance has been printed. I actually did catch a little bit of this reflush this morning as I got back to the desk very quickly. So these levels up here are into those daily levels, all right? But these are resting liquidity. If we break through that, intraday shorts are going to get squeezed, all right? So remember, 1833 is pretty much the level on the daily. And we're going to range between that until it can prove otherwise. Now, when you play ranges, you need to kind of think completely opposite to how you would normally trade. So once we prove that we're in a range, you want to trade the extreme. So you want to be thinking about potential longs here and potential shorts here. That does not mean you're taking this move up, all right? Ideally, you get a little failure pattern and you risk the top of the range for a rotation back to VWAP, lower time frame algo, high time frame algo, IB low. Ranges can be very tricky to trade, especially if you're moving right from a bullish market or bearish market. So let's say yesterday you were trend trading. I know we were in a range, but it provided some trends. If you were joining those trends, okay, and you're used to playing into trends, and we move to a ranging market, it can be very difficult to adapt, which is why being aware of where you are in an IB can be very, very helpful, all right? Because if you are a trader who's very strong at trading good continuation plays, right, there is nothing wrong with just not trading ranges at all, all right? Once you're able to identify we're in a range, you can happily not trade them. Okay, so market right now is potentially trying to build more liquidity, and it's just a question of, is this liquidity going to be used for a downside move and retest, or are we just going to chop? All right, I do not particularly love days like this, especially when we have big moving candles with a lack of news. All right, so from there it's like 60 down to 30, so a 30-point candle. We have structure down here. If you're trying to play dips here, you're in mid-range, okay? There's no pro trend. Lower time frame, higher time frame are not in agreement, and all the EMAs and all the important information is stacked very, very tightly. No worries, Coop. No worries, Coop. All right, so when we've got everything stacked really, really tightly, we're effectively coiling. This is another indication that for now, we are going to be choppy and trapped in a range. Okay, so if you are not great at playing ranges, it's okay to just sit this out. Just moving through the time frames to see if there's any development there at all. Okay, so we're trying to build higher highs, higher lows, but this is our trigger point here and our trigger point here for the intraday New York session. So very, very patient today. Let's sort that green screen out behind me, shall we? Because we have some light coming in. That's probably annoying to look at. My COVID cough is almost gone. All right, I reckon another week or two and we'll finally be through it. It won't be as annoying to listen to. Looking at the book, what do we have? We have a seller up at 18,900, 118 contracts. That is the biggest order I can see on the book. We did have a seller this morning at 18,775 who got taken out. All right, we ran 291 contracts up there on that push. That was the most recent push up there. We look absolutely pinned in this market today. All right, bonds are down slightly. Most of the FX pairs are down, very, very slightly or flat. Bitcoin pretty much flat. All right, so everything's telling me very, very choppy market conditions while we try and figure out what we want to do. Okay, ideally on a daily, if we can really push up, a retest up towards 19,200 would be amazing. I'm not saying that happens today. Something like that would be a pretty strong move. We are trading back inside the Bollingers and we are trading at that 5-day SMA right now. All right, so for me, there's absolutely nothing to do in here. I'm not interested in trading in this range. It's not at an extreme right now. It's not offering any good risk reward. So ask yourself, should you be button pushing? Is there a clear play here? There will be a clear play here if we do this and we can break out and hold above that. All right, but until then, I'm not interested. The same to the downside. All right, I would want to see this flag really play out, all right, and get heavy and use this liquidity and get under here and stay under there. But until then, I'm going to assume that the market wants to seek and create liquidity today. Very boring day probably for now, guys. All right, so unlikely to stay here too long. Possibly the market might offer something after lunch, right? Sometimes you get stuff like this where we chop and chop and chop all morning and that liquidity is used after lunchtime. All right, if you move to a 5-minute line chart, you will see this morning into the open, we basically did an inverse head and shoulders. We broke out of that. We failed into the daily level. We swept the head. We created a W on the M5 before driving back up to that same supply point. Now we're probably going to try and test that W point down into 32s. All right, 32s down into 10. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, this right here, hopefully that's showing on the screen. Yeah. All right, so here was your inverse head and shoulder. All right, breakout, squeeze, failure. Failure comes back, takes out this low here, finds bid support into here, creation of W, failure back into supply. All right, and now we are probably going to trade between here until it's built enough liquidity to make a move. So a little tip there for you guys, if you are struggling to see the patterns, all right, you can use a 1 moving average, a 1 SMA on your chart. all right, and make that nice and thick, and that will create, right, effectively a line chart on top of your chart that you're trading. Or you can do what I do, I just put it on a secondary screen. I actually have it on my main monitor here, very, very small. And it just helps sometimes for me to just check that and think, am I the right side of this trade, right? What is the actual structure? I know we have bullish structure down here, we have bearish structure up here, we are pinned between these two. There is absolutely no trend taking place in here, all right? This part's bullish and this part's bearish. Okay, so we're gonna trade between these until it proves otherwise. So it can really, really help, especially for newer traders, even advanced traders. Looking at those line charts and looking at the edges of those line charts can just provide you with some simple, good information. Did any of you trade overnight? Did any of you catch that long from London? That was probably the move of the day. That long that we got from London. All right, if you look at the base that we put in yesterday before that final drive, right, so if you look at the pullback from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock yesterday, we did a drive up into close, and then we walked the market down through Asia, through London, and we came and retested that base where we found buyers into close, right? And that's where we got that drive up this morning. So the lower time frame there is looking bullish, and it is looking bullish even into today and now. I just don't love the location on the daily and the H1. All right, again, in the H1, we talked about this morning before opening the room. Right, we have a trend up and we have this top of trend, and you'll notice I drew this out before the extension in. We have started to tap into it. This can be moved down very slightly. So there are sellers up here, and this is the deep pullback line, right, on an H1. So until we flip that, we are holding H1 bid support on momentum clouds, but we really need to prove that it can flip this, because this is a huge supply block up here, but it is far too big to just trade in without a bearish pattern. Far, far too big. All right, so another attempt now at, this is the low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, but again, range into the IB high. All right, and we were at the midpoint between the IB high and the IB low. So for me personally, the way I like to trade, this is a no trade location, because this could just be a rebalance and retest, okay, of supply. This is where we found failure, and it can just retest that, flag, break down. I don't know what this wants to do because it's not giving me a clear signal. And 90% of the time, the key to trading is to not trade. It's to know when there is a setup there. Yesterday, we had some really nice setups. Until that point, you don't need to be pushing buttons, all right? It's okay not to trade all the time. It's okay not to take trades for days and sometimes weeks if that's the type of trader you are. You know, if you're a swing trader, there will be weeks that you will go by without having a trade while you are waiting for a good value setup. So we are having pressure against that 5-day SMA yet again. ES exactly the same point. ES is stuck at the 5-day SMA. And the VIX did just have a drive up into the old initial balance low set from yesterday and pulling back from it. No edge in the market right here, not for me personally. Like I said, I did take a trade earlier. Right, I'm up just under $500 on the day right here again. That was a trade as soon as I got back to the desk. And it was a short continuation back down to the creation of the IB low. So here we go. It's a reflush. This is why I don't like trading in this midpoint. Right, you basically have something like this right now. And this is your swing low down here, and that's the problem. Right, so you would be no trend short, there is nothing here, and you'd be looking to take out this, and you'd expect buyers to come in. So that for me is not a play I'm interested in. Just going to be patient and let the market chop, let it provide the liquidity. ES looking to retest its close. Let me know if you have any questions, if you'd rather I go over a lesson or something like that while the market is slow. Okay, so we do have some sell pressure here on the previous day close, previous day low, starting to snap, but we have VWAP right here and the lower time frame algo underneath. So if we're going to roll, we're going to come and attack that IB low now. All right, so this is the play we were looking at, but it's very, very choppy. We do have the creation of that point of control, which is above us. So if we have enough volume, all right, we always talk about this. If we have enough volume trapped up here, point of control is at 57, which is actually here. So if there's enough buyers trapped up here, they are going to be forced to stop out here as we come and retest lower time frame algo and IB low. All right, so you notice we have some covers into that lower time frame algo, which is the same spot where we had buyers stepped in. All right, so buyers are here, sellers are here. All right, so this is a very small range currently to play between, which is why I lack interest in taking a trade here. I don't really look at the tick. I know lots of traders that do use that tick. I don't really use it, especially when trading the NQ. I really only look at the Mag 7 and the VIX. But I think the tick can be useful, especially for momentum and delta. But you're really looking for big numbers in the tick. If you want to look at a guy who trades that really well, you can check out Trade Brigade. I really rate his stuff. I think he's a good trader. He has a really good understanding of how the market moves, and he loves referencing the tick. Worth a watch of some of his videos. He does some, I think he does a midweek recap, and he does a weekend recap. Probably more of a position trader than an in and out trader, but I think he offers some good insight. Okay, so more downward pressure here. We're starting to fail VWAP. All right, we're starting to fail VWAP, so I have to see, do they reclaim that for a squeeze back up, or are we going to have some more sell pressure here? If we just move to like a mid time frame chart, right, like this M5, you'll notice, all right, it's choppy, but we are holding above this breakout area for now. IB low is right here in this M5 imbalance, which is right on this London high. But this was a sign that sellers were up here, and this is that daily level. This was the level we talked about on stream yesterday. If we could drive up there, we were expecting sellers to come back in based on the daily chart. Right, very simple support comes resistance on the higher time frame. Those are the levels that you should always be looking to trade at. Right now on the higher time frame, on a daily, we are just pinned right on yesterday's close. There is a lack of interest for me to participate here. In theory, if we have auctioned up and retest this and hold it, we should be thinking about a bullish move to the upside, but that will play out much better if the higher time frame is in a bullish narrative, which we are not. The daily is in a drive down, okay? Doesn't mean a counter trend can't happen, but I'm not interested in that until it's really proven to me, because I think there's lots of liquidity overnight that we could go and attack if it wants to. So I'd rather be patient and flat right now while the market decides. So you go a hold of the lower time frame algo or a dip through, back test VWAP now. So now we have to see our sellers on the tape, are they interested? But I have absolutely nothing on that book other than the seller really up at 18,900. No one else of size. When everything's flat like this, I lack interest in participating in the market. It just comes from discipline. Green line on the screen, Ryan, is just a VWAP. Yeah, just a normal VWAP. So anytime I have a line, green line, that would be a VWAP. And if I do anchor points, I'm normally doing a dark green and a dark red. How often do I find a trade per week? I mean, most of the time I'm trading multiple trades a day. I did find a trade this morning. You know, I took this short through here down. Normally the market present three good setups a day for intraday trading. But on days like this, you know, if I'd missed that continuation, then I'd probably check out by lunchtime. And then I might come back in after lunch, because sometimes you get that midday reversal or, you know, a failed auction after lunch or a continuation after lunch. But most days I end up getting a trade. But I don't like to sit here all day. I like to give myself breaks. I trade much, much better if I give myself breaks. You got to think right now, what are the big hands trying to do? If you were a swing trader right now in the market, what would you be looking to do in this market? I don't think you'd necessarily be looking to do anything. You're probably just holding positions that you already had to the short side. You're probably not a new money short, and that's why we're going to have a lack of continuation unless something changes. You know, we do have some Fed talkers today, and we have the presidential debate tonight. And that might really cause some volatility tonight and tomorrow. We'll have to see what's said. Right, so retest of IB low then. And into previous day close, which is the white line. So IB low, previous day close. So this bear flag ended up playing out quite nicely. And here's your continuation. So now we're looking for those London levels. All right, so a full sweep of overnight would take us right down to 581. So we're thinking about IB rules now, right? Initial balance rules. Do we have continuation? Can we sustain underneath the initial balance? All right, can this become supply for continuation? Or do we have a failed auction? All right, and back to VWAP and then maybe all the way back up to IB. So we took the low, took the liquidity, traded back inside the initial balance straight away so far. If you go to an H1 chart, you will see that this is the momentum cloud on an H1 chart. All right, so the flow zone momentum cloud provided bid support there, and this is the old block, right? This down candle here is your overnight block where buyers will try and hold for now. Right, but lower time frame momentum into this is to the short side, so these are cover points. If you did take that, I did not take that trade. Didn't want to trade for the middle of the range, but it provided a decent trade, didn't it? If you took this breakout right here on this candle, you never really took any heat. Right, if you took this, you risked the break and you looked for the IB low. Almost 8R. It's a very nice trade. So just to recover, that trade would have been this breakdown, and you would have been looking for IB low. That's your trigger for a cover point, IB low. So far, potential failed auction here, okay? Outside the IB low, traded back inside. And this line down here is the higher time frame algorithm, right? The higher time frame algorithm. So it's holding that for now. So now we have a series, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, but a failed auction. This is what I mean about nothing pro trend, nothing of huge interest to me. If we're going to have a failed auction here, and we can do something like this, then we can think about a rotation up. Imbalance here on a 1 minute, very similar to yesterday. So if we hold that, very small chance, but we can do something like this. You have VWAP here, you have to be very cautious. This is a potential trade back to upside. If we reclaim VWAP, we hold imbalance, we flip it, then we can search for liquidity. Right, those would be your targets for upside moves. But remember, lower time frame momentum currently is to the downside. All right, so until we take out this pivot high, we are not in bullish structure, lower time frame. Let's make this white. It is likely to be a bit of a boring stream today, guys, unless we can really find a trend here. All right, VIX trading back up towards that 20. Magical 20 cannot get through it. That is the IB high on the VIX on the day. All right, so a break of 20 is what will give us downside pressure on the NQ and the ES. Both the NQ and the ES are hanging out towards their IB lows. And they're both sat at daily levels. And they are both right by the 5-day moving averages. All right, so potentially going to do the flip that we talked about. This is an early trade still. Remember, here would be your lower time frame break. You have to be very careful that it doesn't just trap above that and come back down. But because we swept here and claimed back inside, this is your extreme of the range. All right, so if this is a cheap trade for the long side and we're going to have a failed auction, if you did take that, all right, TP1 is that VWAP. You trade from IB high to VWAP. If we can break over this, we can think about IB low to VWAP, we can think about trading to the IB high. if you have a peep at the M5 chart, you will just see all we're doing is wicking both sides, all right? Long wicks underneath, long wicks on top. This is building liquidity. The longer we build liquidity, the more violent the move outside of it will end up being. Jerry, I noticed a few of your questions the last few days. So anytime I'm saying M or H, that's just in reference to minute or hourly, and flow zones are my indicator based on EMAs basically and Fibonacci's. So the market here trying to do that move up. It has flipped that lower time frame imbalance, but it is printing right next to the daily levels and the flow zones, which are printing downward pressure, although flat. All right, so possible failed auction here if it can get going. Might just hang out here for a while it needs to build. No worries, Jerry. There's quite a few videos. If you're not doing my course, there's quite a few videos. Yes, everything I discuss here is in the course. The course is very, very detailed. So if you go to flowzonetrader.com and click the links through, when it takes you to the Teachable website, it will actually show you the whole course syllabus. So all the different modules and lessons. It's over 20 hours of lessons in there, so everything's in there, and it's built for someone that's never traded at all before, so it starts at the very, very beginning. But no pressure to do it. You know, if you have a set trading style or something already, absolutely no pressure to do it. Lots of free information on my YouTube. All right, so we're flipping that imbalance now, and we are trying to reclaim VWAP. This is what I mean about how it's really hard to flip from a trend day to a ranging day, because a ranging day, you need to be fading the extremes or buying the extremes. So really you want to be buying these and selling these. Very, very different to trending days. So this failed auction looks very strong now to the upside. Here you go, there's your push. So we flip that imbalance. We are now trying to reclaim everything. So the next target through this, we're at deep pullback now. So we will look to retest the 5-day and the resting liquidity. So the resting liquidity is right here, right? All these wicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is where shorts will have their stops. And then here, and then the IB high. Right, so the best way of this happening will be if it creates a bullish pattern, because for now it hasn't really created anything. Remember I said you have to be very cautious. It doesn't just seek the liquidity like this and then roll back over. But play your own risk. You know, play your own trade setup. If you are good at trading ranges, this is going to provide an opportunity to play that range. VIX just basing out currently at 1970. We are holding the close on the Qs, all right? We are holding, if you look at the Qs yesterday on a 10-minute chart, let's see, maybe I can do it here or something. Yeah. Okay, if you look at the Qs yesterday, right, these were the highs. Right, so we are trying to base over that. So yesterday, higher high, higher low, higher low, higher high. Can we do this? That's what the cues are looking to do. Failure of this. All right, we can attack these levels. Oh, that's not high enough on your chart, is it? There we go. Now you can see it. Sorry, guys. Right, so this was yesterday on the cues. So you have this resistance becomes support. This is what the market is trying to hold. If we get failure of these, right, we're going to attack the levels where we found buyers. You're doing great, Ryan. Really good. All right, so dip back down into that imbalance and the lower time frame algorithm. All right, and for now, it's trying to hold that lower time frame algorithm right here. So we're above the higher time frame, above the lower time frame, which means based on this chart, the market on the higher time frame, just on this chart, is going to try and move upside. Once we start failing these, we might get downside pressure. But again, days like today can provide lots of false signals because it is trying to build liquidity. All right, we need to reclaim these levels for upside moves. Think about what this looks like as a line chart. Okay, can it do that? That is the question. All right, that's your new creation of flag. Again, we are holding IB low. We are in a range. I don't love these sort of trend continuation patterns when we are in these kind of ranges. We are just in chop. Zoom out on your chart. All right, zoom out from the 930. That's what we're doing. All right, so this is all chop. The only good trades in here, we're short up here and long down here. That's all the market has really provided. All right, and we're in a new H1 bar now. So we're looking, can we get downside pressure, all right, underneath the last H1 close, or are we going to trade back inside that H1 bar and trade back up towards 60, 760? It's the question on the H1, which is really only providing 30 points if we trade back inside. It's not a lot, with equal highs effectively resting all the way up at 820. All right, so more downside pressure, retesting lower time frame algo. Maybe now it will retest that IB low. There is a buyer flashing down at 700. It might just be the algorithm providing liquidity. So Financial Juice just hit the news saying there was a poll saying that the Fed are unlikely to cut by 50 basis points. this month. No surprise there. I think 25 basis points is what the market is expecting currently. Just going to check if there's any more news coming today. I think we have something at 12 o'clock from what I remember. Yeah, so Bowman's talking at 12:15. I think Fed Bar's probably finished talking by now. Sorry guys, bit of a boring day, but this is what we get sometimes. I don't want to be sitting here trying to call the market when we're in chop like this. Okay, it's not providing a huge amount of range here. It's not providing really nice trends. Like I say to the guys in my room all the time, you just have to know what you are good at trading. You know, if you're a good range trader, this can provide some nice scalps for you. But otherwise, don't force your opinion on the market. Don't become emotional and be like, I have to make this much money a day, because if the market does not present the opportunities to make that much money, then you're going to end up taking a trade you shouldn't trade and you shouldn't take. It's still holding this imbalance for now, but it's only an M1 imbalance, right? It's not a big high time frame imbalance. If you look at the H1, we are currently outside to the downside of the H1 previous close, but we have repriced the candles on the H1 all the way down to 7 a.m. this morning. So it's really tough here. We are holding bid support above that London high and above yesterday's area. Remember, on the Qs, we're holding bid support in this area right here. So we need to see if the market can retain buyer pressure in here. All right, if we can retain buyer pressure in here, potentially we can move upside. If we start failing this, then we can think about very simply something like this as the channel. Okay, and are we going to come and retest where we found buyers down here? Right, so these are the levels of interest currently. Beneath that would be all the way down here. This would obviously be blue. We'll just do it grey because the line's blue. Right, so that's the kind of thing we're looking at. Can buyers hold over these highs? As I say that, we are holding and starting to push. All right, so this trade here started to play out once we held that imbalance, once we took out the IB low, once we reclaimed VWAP. All right, so now the question is, can we attack these levels of liquidity right here? So these are potential targets where stops are. And through these, there is a possible move all the way back up to that IB high where we found sellers earlier up here. So now you see we have a taper. Okay, so we've moved from here, this kind of trend line, and we're starting to sort of do something like this. So it's starting to round out. So if now, very similar to how we talked about if buyers get trapped, if too many shorts got stuck down here, okay, we will taper and we will use their stops for moves up. That's how the market works. Big question. Are enough shorts stuck down here? Is this going to be a sweep and a drive back down? M15 is not clear. Check out an M5. We did just tap an M5 block. So the M5 block is from 54 to 46. That's where sellers were sat in here. So maybe they were just waiting for that push up. We have to wait and see. Okay, this is your channel. Something like this. The M5 block is this here. Right, so we traded into that and found the sellers. So it looks like the M5 is actually going to provide the best information today, because the M15 is just solid candles with wicks. The M5 block is showing where the buyers and sellers are currently today, providing useful information. All right, so this is sellers. Again, we are above that London high right now. Let's just think about that from a fib. We did trade back into that golden pocket. All right, so that was a good cover point there for the shorts that took the extension. So a flip of this, like this trend right here, will provide a potential squeeze if we can get through these blocks. Really interesting how the numbers go right down when you're not providing buy and sell and, like, you know, hitting full send because the market's providing good opportunities. When you just trade disciplined, no one's really interested in watching. Okay, so far this is still looking good for upside. We found sellers there, but we are still providing. All right, if this is your low pivot, higher low, higher low, higher low, maybe we can stay in this channel and grind up. But it is not going to be easy action, that is for sure. We are pinned right in the mid. We are now in the mid of the session, all right? So if you were to take a trade here and put your target at high of day and your stop loss at low of day, right, you will just be at a 1R both sides, 50-50 trade. All right, coming back up to test 5-day moving average and the top of that trend. Looking good here though, looking good for this curl, all right, for this curl here. Let's see if it can attack these levels of liquidity. Again, we are into that M5 block, just as a reminder. That red block right there, that's where sellers are. All right, so we're trading into that block. If we start to flip that, we can attack higher. We are starting to break that downtrend. And there are levels we can come and attack. Right, these levels here. It's where the stops are. So on days like today, right, the market will create liquidity by doing this chop. All right, so you've got to think shorts got in here, shorts got in here, shorts got in here, shorts got in here, bulls got in here, bulls got in here, bulls got in here. So you have loads of stops down here, loads of stops up here. Whatever the market wants to do higher time frame, okay, it can now use these stops to do that. So if the market wants to move lower, right, all these stops down here, it can use them, right? Or everyone who's long, they're going to sell the market when it comes back down. That adds selling pressure. If the market wants to move higher, all these stops up here, right, they're all sellers. They're going to have to cover back in the market, and the market can use them to drive to the upside, right? That is literally how the market works. The more you can think about who's stuck in the market, right, the easier it's going to be for you. Maybe just peep the daily chart as well. Just have a quick look at that, all right? See how the range has tightened up. So we came back inside yesterday's day. We drove to the upside. We based for ages and ages on the previous day close, previous day high, which are the red lines, right? This is previous day high, previous day close. All right, so we swept that and traded back inside. So now the daily maybe can drive up to those levels we talked about earlier, which are the Wednesday, Thursday lows. 18,840, let's call it. If we get through that, then you have 18,920, and top of that range, 18,950, 960. All right, so here you go. So sellers definitely trapped now. So once we reclaim that IB, it was a failed auction. We held the higher high, we flipped the imbalance, and we are trading upside. So now look at the move straight to target. So blue line there is the 5-day. This is where we have some stops right here. All right, so if we pop that, we're going to get through and we're going to attack this next level now. All right, so lower time frame, we are bullish. Higher time frame, we have moved to bullish. If you look at the indicator in the top right, it has moved to bullish. The flow zones, momentum clouds have started to curl to the upside. So if we can sustain bids above this and we can hold a trend, we can potentially think about a move back to the IB high. Also check the H1 chart. Where are we right now? We are near those previous H1 open and closes and at the point of control. Right here. This is your point of control. These are the previous 2 hour or even 3 hour of closes up here. Very, very key level here. Right, this is where resistance is, point of control, and those open close points. Remember, we respect candle structure, especially higher time frame. We pop through this, then H1 will likely want to come and attack these equal highs up here and the top of this trending range and the IB high. So everything is making sense thesis wise. All right, this is how we use multiple time frames to try and build thesis. I'm looking at all these live all the time, guys. I have multiple screens here. I'm always just referencing where are we on the H1, where are we on the daily, where are we on the M15, where is liquidity sat, where are we likely to draw towards, where are the sellers, where are the buyers. This is what should be going through your head all the time. The last thing you should be thinking about is how much money can I make, right? Should be thinking about what is the structure, where are people participating, is there a trade setup? What is the trade setup? Where is my entry? Where is my risk? And then you should be thinking about where is my reward? It should be the last thing you're thinking about. Okay, so nice channel trend here. It would not be uncommon for the market to be an absolute arse on days like this and just roll back down, right? It has to build enough liquidity to do a move. But for now, We are in trend up. We are higher, high, higher, low. And trend up, I just mean from this pivot point. And we have resting liquidity, all right? So it's very likely we are going to take this out because it came up, tapped it, came up, tapped it, and it's now got 2 lots of shorts. So intraday shorts came back in here, thought, yeah, let's sell this market. If we pop through this, we'll probably pop straight up here very, very quickly for a 20-point squeeze. So effectively, you have creation flag, flag, flag. So if we flag through this, we can expect these stops to get run and an extension up. Notice how the flow zones held on that last dip. Exactly what we just talked about. We are looking for the flow zones hold for continuation back to that IB high now. Because now it's starting to look more likely that shorts got stuck down here, all right? Why did they get stuck? Because they don't learn and they wanted to short underneath the previous day close. Or previous day open, sorry, and they were looking for a rotation down to previous day close. So this is previous day open, it's white line, this is previous day high. They were forcing themselves on the market, trying to get a short down, and it wasn't ready to do it, so they got squeezed for this move up. Does everything make sense, guys? Do I need to explain anything? Any terminology? I know, Jerry, sometimes if you haven't done the course, it can be a bit tricky. You've let me know that. So anything I can help with, just let me know. Even if you're not making money today, hopefully you are making money, but even if you're not, hopefully you're learning. Okay, so if we just peek this M5 now, let's just remove the drawings. Right, we are holding above that level. Remember we said, if we can hold above that level, we have the chance to be bullish. And this here is starting to put in a bullish structure. All right, so now we've popped that first set of stops. So it might get aggressive here on a move up as the shorts start to get run out. Okay, here you go. So nice pop there already. 10 points on that move through there. And if you took the pullback into flow zones, you are already up 25, 26 points. Starting to extend. This is top of trend right now. We will attack this. It can start to extend here. If enough shorts are stuck, we can really start to put a squeeze on now. Okay, this is the next level of liquidity it is going to hunt. Check your H1. We are clearly above the point of control now. We are above those previous open and closes on the H1. All right, so first move was in to take that liquidity. We've taken it, right? So if you took that long, you should be taking some profit, right? You do not know if the market will want to rotate. Take some profit off the table, pay yourself, make sure you're not going to give it all back, move your stop break even, let the runners work for you, all right? If we start to attack this, you can take another profit. If we start to attack the IB high, take some more profit. So this liquidity we have built right here, all right, we talked about this earlier, on a micro structure and on a bigger structure, all right, we might do something like this. We are always going to use liquidity later in the day. All right, so everything we create to the left is going to be used on the right, always. So just think, in here, lots of shorts. So where do they get squeezed? When we get above them. In here, shorts. Where do they get squeezed? When we get above them. Who is trapped in the market? right, VIX coming back down towards the IB low of day. QQQ's basically trying to build a bull flag on top of yesterday's high of day. That is what the Qs are trying to do. Bonds remain down on the day. Apple back to 220, so a decent recovery there. Back to that key level 220, it's just bidding above it. Microsoft 413, up on the day, almost 2% there. Let's pull this out and double check I've got my stats right. Yeah, Microsoft up almost 2%, Amazon almost 2%, Google now up on the day, above that 150 key level on Google, almost 1% up on the day. Meta pretty much flat. Nvidia has reclaimed and is up almost 1%, and Tesla trading really bullish, up 3.5% on the day. So tech looking pretty good. Couple names that were heavy like Apple are pretty much flat or down far less than they were, starting to reclaim some levels. So you got 5 of the Mag 7 are green. Here we go. Here's your squeeze. How many units would you recommend for trade? How many contracts are you talking about, Ryan? How many contracts would I trade? Are you talking micros or minis? And what size account? All depends on your account size. But if you took this long and you were going to risk the edge of this, you did not need to risk much, all right? You only need to risk 10 points, all right? You're now up 60 points. You don't need a lot of size. How many recommended for a trade? Let's say micro, e-mini, I'm using 100K account size. Okay, well, you don't need to risk a lot. So on 100K accounts on most of prop firms, all right, so we've just taken that liquidity up here now, all right, notice that. Sorry, Ryan, I'll come back to you in just a second. I'm trying to think what your targets are and risk tolerances are on prop firms for 100K. On a 50K, I know you can lose 2,500 on most of the firms. All right, so let's say you're trading 50K and you can just double it. If you took 3 micros here, risking 10 points, all right, risking 10 points, which is not a lot for NQ. Normally you need to risk a lot more, but risking 10 points, and you got a 60 point move. So it's a 6-hour move, you're risking 10, you make 60, and you took 3 micros, that's $360. You do that over 10 accounts, that's $3,600. Now you do it over 20 accounts, it's over $7,000 on the day. You don't need a lot. Biggest mistake people use is trying to use too much size. All right, the NQ provides 50-point moves a lot. All right, a lot, if you're just joining once it's ready. So I would say just keep it small and build your confidence into it. So maybe on 100K you can use a bit more, but I'm guessing your target on 100K is probably like 5 grand or something. So if you break that into 20 days, which is a month, all right, $250 a day. you would have made that and more on that one trade with 3 micros. Right, so we're still holding the momentum cloud flow zones. Right, we are in trend bullish. We're above the 5-day. We've stolen this liquidity now. What is the next target? It is these equal highs up here at the high of day. Right, so we are bullish for that rotation. We are getting the rotation we talked about for this move here, basically completion of cup. At this point, we can expect to handle. If it is a range day, all right, we might get a failed auction to the upside and a rotation back down. We do not know what's going to happen when and if we get there. We just have to trade to that point. All right, so you should have got long in here. You could have taken this buy signal here. You could have taken the imbalance we talked about. I did not take any of these. I'm just sat on my hands right now. And you should be taking profit. TP1, TP2, TP3, runner, in case we get going. So really nice signal here. Once it reclaimed, even this signal right here offered really good risk reward. You would have had to risk about 10 points from 30 to 90. You probably wouldn't have got all of that, but 50-point trade again. It's a 5R trade. Still holding the momentum clouds for now. All right, we are starting to roll, but you will want to see these levels here hold up. All right, these are the way the market's moving in terms of waves. All right, if you did a 1MA, it would look something like this. So it needs to hold a pullback to here or a trap under it for a bullish move back up. Otherwise, it can rotate all the way back down because we are trading inside initial balance. But for now, you play trend bullish. Okay, all the time we're holding. Your entries are always better on initial balance days down here near the extremes. $25 minutes until you come into a new hour and lunch. Maybe we get that drive up into the lunch. Maybe their idea is to go and take out that IB high. We will have to wait and see. Again, peep the M5. All right, we have some supply up here. Clear levels of failure up here. So this is what we're pinned between on the day so far. So if we're going to extend, all right, if we're going to play outside initial balance, we will need to break out of the initial balance, retest the initial balance, and hold the initial balance for upside. And then you will be looking left for targets. Okay, so your targets will be here. And you can do this on the NQ as well. I'm just doing it on the Qs so it's easy for you to see. Right, this is a really easy way of finding out levels that the market might want to go towards. All right, so for now, we are pinned in this range here. And you're looking for breakout retests, or failed breakouts, right? That's what you have on days like this. Oh my God, it's not up high enough for you, is it? Okay, let's move this up. Sorry, guys. Right, this is the M5, right? These grey boxes are what you're pinned towards. This is supply, this is demand. All right, the other grey boxes are just levels that I'm interested in on the Qs. So until we get outside of this, right, we're going to trade inside. So we're going to rotate between the two. Once we get outside of it, and it can happen today, you can think about push through IB high, retest IB high and level, and extension up. Doesn't have to do this whole move today, it's very aggressive, but for example, and the downside would be a break down beneath IB low, retest IB low, break below. You'd be searching these levels down here, or you can get failed breakouts, failed auctions, which is what we got this morning. So push through IB high, fail, failure pattern, back down. And this morning we already had one, which was underneath the IB low, back inside, and then we traded back up. Okay, those are literally the 4 plays. Those are the only plays that can potentially happen in this market currently while it builds out liquidity. Or you can watch Top Step and go full account long. Okay, so potential trap and potential failure here. 2 things we're looking at. We are at the deep pullback flow zone. All right, so this is where deep pullback buyers might want to participate. Notice it held the deep pullback for now. But we do have a slight shift here. All right, this is a big candle, so we're starting to try and trade down. So the question is there a continuation, or do they use this same way we use higher time frame liquidity as the trap to trade back up? All right, so if they're going to trap, this will be it, and we will use it for upside pressure. If this is just going to roll over, there will be no trap, and we will see this move here and a rotation back down. All right, so looks like downside pressure here. This is exactly what I'm talking about with inside days. You have to be very, very careful. Its job is to create liquidity, steal liquidity, create liquidity, steal liquidity. So right here, previous day high. Again, on the Qs, we're going to trade down to previous day high, gray boxes. Much harder price action to trade. It requires far more patience and far more understanding of what the market's trying to do. We are at the midpoint, all right? The midpoint, we're at 50% from here to here. We are right at this midpoint. So notice lower time frame is shifting to bearish. These have not gone red yet, but we are underneath them. So there is sell pressure underneath them. We're not holding the deep pullback right now. Unless it traps and reclaims, right, we have sell pressure. Next up, VWAP, then lower time frame algo, then higher time frame algo, and the IB low. And you have to pay attention to these levels here. Previous day high, previous day close. So we can remove this channel now because we are breaking outside of the channel. So notice the top of the channel held as resistance. You can always do these parallel channels. They will help you know if you are buying and selling at good areas. Okay, so here, micro bear flag, potential micro bear flag. Again, unless we trap. And you can be late to this. You don't need to be looking for the trap down here. You can be joining once we reclaim. Should not be bullish now. So now it's seeking VWAP. I'm just watching the tape here. Biggest level on the book to the downside is 625. There's 80 contracts down there. And then 87, is that? Yeah. 8575. So I have to see if they hold VWAP here. ES is trading well under VWAP. And ES also rejected a daily level. It rejected a daily level. NQ trying to reclaim. Okay, so you've got mixed signals now relative weakness effectively in the ES, because tech isn't doing too bad today. So probably there's some weakness in pharmacies or banks or stuff like that. And give it another 15 minutes, guys, until we get into lunch. For those in the room, everything that we talked about this morning, all right? The building of liquidity, looking for those daily levels, follow the higher timeframes, don't get drawn in to the lower timeframes too much, all right? These are the days where traders blow their accounts because they're oversized and they get chopped up. Right, it did provide some nice opportunities today if you were patient. If you understood that these were daily levels, right, even this reshort in here, or even better, this here, these were nice short opportunities. Back to seek this, all right? This was a very nice short. I was very lucky I managed to catch that when I got back from walking the dog. And this has provided a nice long, all right? Failed auction, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, trigger long, provided good risk reward, and we took the liquidity. Okay, so hopefully you got 2 or 3 trades today. And even if you got one, that's great. And if you got none, that's also great. And if you took a loss, it's okay, right? It's just one day. Don't be fighting the market trying to make all that money back in one day. Just take your time. Okay, so downward pressure momentum after we took this liquidity. Right, market is basically telling us that it wants to now stay in this range here. Right, this is the new range that the market's building liquidity in. It's not going to look for these extremes right now, which is why when I say take profit here, it's really important, because if you are holding for this whole move up and you're up 60 points and you're now break even, you are going to be kicking yourself. Very, very heavy. All right, so for me, that's basically saying buyers got trapped up at that high. All right, buyers got trapped here trying to take a breakout high up here, right? And we were buying down here. And once we came underneath, this is your new flag that we just talked about. And now it's going to search these levels of liquidity down here, just like we did to the upside, right? It's going to search for the liquidity to the downside, coming into lower time frame algo here and VWAP. Right, so that stops here, and there will still be a ton of stops at this IB low and the high time frame algo. So notice some are covering into this lower time frame algo. Doesn't mean that's a buy, it's just a trigger point for if you got short for this break on the flag microstructure, or maybe you got to this one, but this one's a safer play. Cover point 1, cover point 2, lower time frame algo held. It's going to trade back up. Do they find sellers for the move down? That's what you're asking yourself all the time. Market is looking like it wants to roll here and attack that IB low. Very typical inside initial balance day. All right, a rotational day. Very, very typical of it. All right, these levels here, 06, 02, obviously 700, psychological level, initial balance low, and this wick down here. All right, ES is really starting to attack it, and we have the VIX trading back up towards 1975. Remember, I said on the VIX, if the VIX can break out of, let's just call it 20 and run up to 2030, it will start to cause mega downside pressure in this market. And just to think back to the higher time frames on the daily, what were we doing on the daily? Right, we were trading back up towards Wednesday, Thursday low, which we did. On the hourly, what were we doing? We were trading back into these levels. Here is your trend. All right, I can zoom out of this. This is your hourly trend. We got stuck up here, 1, 2, 3 hours. Okay, it's going to pull back now, and if it takes out that low, it's going to test demand down here and possibly lower side of the trend. Good morning, Ramos. Sorry, just seen your message now. So lower time frame algo, we cannot get a close below it. Doesn't mean we won't. Might retest VWAP. Maybe it retests this supply or this block up here that we made. All right, so sellers are now sitting here, intraday sellers. Here is VWAP, this green line. So can it create a new flag and break down and attack these levels? Looks like yes. "10 minutes until a new H1 candle." This H1 candle is looking very heavy. So if you got short, as a reminder, you must respect these levels down here, the initial balances. You must not be shorting into these levels. These should be cover points. The only time we will take a new short now will be if we are outside that IB low and we do a breakout or a breakdown and retest. Again, you want to peep the M5. Very, very clear level here. All the liquidity that's built up from this morning trying to hold these levels. We can fail, we can start to attack. Just going to check that's showing. We can start to attack all these levels down here. Right, this will look exactly the same on the NQ. I'm just showing you the QQQs because it's showing less Asia London. There we go. All right, so there's the aggressive move that we were just talking about, and now it's taking everyone out. So all the buyers now who didn't respect they were in an inside day are going to get taken out. It doesn't mean I'm smashing in short here, right? You just have to respect where we're at. We also have a speaker at, I think I said 12:15. All right, so all the buyers just got stopped out. All right, everyone who was buying here, they stopped out, which is why you had that sell pressure candle. So now I need to wait and see, are we going to retest that IB low or any of these levels and stay heavy? Or are we going to have another failed auction and trade back inside? These are the questions you need to be asking yourself all the time. What is the market looking to do? Where can the market go? These candles here left huge imbalances, all right? So they might want to trade back up to see if there are still some sellers in there who never got filled. Filled short to IB low. Do you mean you covered into IB low, Ryan? So you were short and you got the cover and made your profit? Yeah, very nice, Ryan. Great trade. No worries. You're welcome. Hopefully you're learning something here. Unlike the other streams who just take trades and then show the profit. Hopefully I'm giving you enough information that you can make your own decisions. Okay, so notice now we've swept that liquidity. All right, it might want to trade back inside and fill that O1 balance or retest the IB low before getting heavy. We don't know what it's going to do, but we are going to respect it. So if you got short on the sell signal, any of those trend breaks or flag breaks, take some profit, okay? And you can always leave a runner on now, because if the market wants to trend down, if it wants to start attacking the overnight lows, it can trend all the way down to sort of 18,600. So it is offering more downside if and only if it wants to trend, if it wants to have a trend day. Otherwise, it's going to reclaim the initial balance and trade back inside. But if you've taken some profit off the table, you can always leave one runner. Even one micro that does an extra 100 points will make you an extra $200 per account. So reminder, you have a new hourly candle coming in 5 minutes. Very nice. I'm taking a little bit more profit there. Okay, so I added a $300 extra on that trade, all right, just under $700 on this account. I'm just using this account to trade when I trade with you guys live, rather than having all of my accounts linked, at least while I get used to it. Okay, so remember, just leave that runner on if you can. Doesn't mean add to a new position. Leave the runner on if you can. If we're going to stay heavy against this initial balance low, then we can auction down. We will auction down. If you want to see the levels that we're going to auction down to, zoom out and use a higher time frame chart. All right, we talked about all these levels down here. There's congestion here, but you can zoom out. If I move you to a higher time frame, right, we can think about, we're coming into this H1 support. We have a wick here at 575. We have this trend line, so these should be cover points. If we start to snap these, then we can think about a real big dump. Remember, the higher time frame is in a sell. All right, this was a pullback leg. We talked about it at the beginning of the stream. It was a higher time frame pullback leg. We are now into a pro trend play if we can sustain sell pressure, because it will mean the daily is in a sell, the H4 is in a sell, the H1 can be in a sell if it starts to break its current structure, right? And everything will start to align. So we really need the H1 and the H4 to flip current support that it's sitting at pretty much right now, break the trend, right? So H1 will need to break down underneath these levels, and then we're going to be in a pro trend play, which means every single trader, every single time frame trader will be looking for sells back down towards the lows, because this structure we're in the H1, right? This structure we're in, if we think about drawing that out, all we're in is this. Okay, that's all we're doing. So today we did this, and we're pulling back towards a support system. So if we can break that, we can break down. Are you learning stuff here, guys? Or would you prefer I just, you know, hit 15 contracts short right now? And just blew up so you can all have a good laugh or something? I feel like all the streamers who do that get way more views and teach you the worst habits in the world. Okay, so still looking heavy here. All right, we're still looking really heavy here. Lower lows, lower highs. So of course you can build a new trend in if you want. It's very steep right now. No yellow. All right, you can build a new trend in. All right, the best play will be if it offers us some form of continuation, all right, which would mean like a new bear flag. All right, so this is current trend. It's very, very steep because those buyers got absolutely whacked. Something like this. So for us, the best play will be something like this. All right, we are going to need to build liquidity out ideally. We might not get it because if there's enough bulls that got trapped today, all right, we might not get it. Remember earlier we talked about this level right here. Right, this is sitting there waiting to get slammed. So now we can think about the cup the other way. Definitely had buyers step in here. Remember, this is the overnight level right here. Okay, so maybe we complete this cup. Please don't chase this to the short side. That doesn't mean look for a long. We are definitely in a sell, but pullbacks are your friends with these. All right, pullbacks are your friends. Very, very aggressive move here. All right, so another nice trade at least. Coming into lunch, notice how the move came into a new hourly candle, all right? Notice that. Hourly candles love to provide the liquidity. So if we're breaking down in this new hourly candle, which is coming right now, we are going to look for a move towards 581. Okay, this is a new hourly candle right now. They might need to manipulate it higher and rebalance. You have to be careful. All right, we are extended from the flow zones. All right, we're extended from the flow zones. We're extended from where we broke down. Be very, very careful. Don't be a short getting caught at the lows. If you miss it and it continues to puke, who cares, right? Who cares? Don't worry about it, right? Because if you get short here and it ends up doing this, right, you are going to be very, very upset with yourself. Wait for good levels, all right? Wait for it to build some structure. No worries, Brian. This level here is a very clear target. All right, this is the overnight low, which is what it's seeking right now. And VIX is breaking out. In fact, it broke out, it's gone. All right, right through IB high. In one candle, all right, it went from 75 through 20 through 25 on an M10. Did the breakout we were talking about. We said if it started to break that IB high, it will go and take 25 out and it will cause a market flush, which is exactly what we got. Here is the start of a rebalance, all right? Be careful. Do not be adding in short too early. Please, please, please do not be adding short in too early. We are at a low of day. You must have good risk reward. Understand that we have done a gigantic move here now. All right, this is from 785 to almost 600. All right, best part of 200 points. You do not want to be chasing the lows. All right, just wait for structure, play pullbacks. Do not be longing, for God's sake. Please, please, please. No doubt people on other YouTube channels are trying to guess longs right now. Do not get into that habit. Follow momentum, all right? It is telling you bearish. We are bearish. Look at the higher time frames. We are bearish. We are going to go lower. We are in a sell. Do not be guessing the bottom. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, fresh lows across the board. VIX coming into supply here. So VIX from this point here, 75 up to 21.20. It might start to get sticky. If it starts to expand through that, it is good night to the market, all right? If it starts to expand through that, because that will be a trigger that the VIX is moving into a bullish phase, not just an intraday bullish phase, but we are going to take out a key pivot, and then there is a massive gap, all right? Above 21.40, we have a big old gap fill. If the VIX wants to do that, the market is going to get destroyed. Now, I don't think that's going to happen today. I was actually really hoping we would stay inside today and print a high of week. Guys in the room will know why. I'm not going to give that edge out on stream, but that's what I was really, really hoping for today. But market just can't seem to hold its gains right now. Okay, be very careful if we start to get tapering here, guys. Be very, very careful. Right, nice pullback would be good. Let the pullback happen. Let it show you weakness, all right? If it starts to pull back, don't be looking short, 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 short. Let it do something like this, all right, to give you a good area to get short into. Here, 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 cover. Because if you start adding here, right, and it wants to do a really large pullback, you're going to have to sit through 10 all the way up to maybe 85, all right? So just be careful. All right, structure-wise, lower time frame, right, you'd want to see that, but we have imbalances here, and I kind of expect those to get filled, to be quite honest. Because that was a very aggressive move. Right, so if you look at an M5, we have imbalances. If I move this to an 15, right, huge imbalance. All right, huge imbalance. You just need to think about that. We came very close to a cover target here. We talked about it at 80, this right here. Very, 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 very close. If that is enough for smart money and the big institutions today, then that will be it. All right, that doesn't mean I'm thinking long, but you just have to understand the risk reward. We were looking for a move into this once we got into that sell, and we came very, very close. We were 8 points away. All right, so expect some of this to reprice now. right, so there's the tag with the flow zones there. So if we create a flag here, will be interesting. Anyone in the room, go and check out the profit that Ryan just did. He absolutely destroyed this. He just texted me. In the XFA. Love to see it. Trading exactly what we're talking about, guys. Exactly the same stuff. 6K day in one XFA. Beautiful. All right, so this is yesterday's point of control here as well. Yesterday's point of control. Move the point of control up. Point of control, buyers got stuck up here. We are comfortably under it. We're testing yesterday's. We are testing this trend. All right, we're testing this trend line now. If we can get a failure underneath this, it might need to reprice up first. So this level here, 72, for me becomes key on the H1. That reprice up to here, that old candle. Can we reprice that and have some selling continuation? Right, so on an M1, that reprice would basically be into this level here where we found sellers break down from. So can we do a reprice into this before a continuation? If we reclaim it, you know what I'm going to say, if we reclaim it, then it can be trading back inside the initial balance auction. Just going to turn my aircon down. Great trade, Ryan. I'm over the moon for you, bud. Really, really nice. For those that don't know, Ryan is one of the traders in our room. He is a live funded trader with Top Step. Also trades building up some more XFAs. Had a very good few months, and today was a really nice day for him. All right, so you can see the market trying to build out this potential bear flag. You need to be careful because we're into the old H1 levels. We are in the H1 trend, remember. We are in the H1 trend right here and this old level right here. Okay, so we're looking for pullbacks to get short into. If the market starts to reclaim some of these levels, then we can think that this was the only move. The move down here was enough. Yeah, I mean, it's Jen, it's long COVID. I've tried everything. Unfortunately, it's actually getting better. It might sound really bad, but it's getting better. I just really struggle to run now. I used to love doing 5K runs most days when I finished the market, but it's pretty tough to do. No worries, John. Great work. See you in the room tomorrow, buddy. All right, so there's the bear flag breakdown. Doesn't get much easier than that. All drawn out ahead of time for you. Okay, retesting the flow zones. There was the bear flag, it's been in there the whole time. Okay, so you now should be moving your stop break even. You should be looking for us to potentially test low of day, but remember, we are near higher time frame demand, all right? So this is not the same risk reward as you had up here. You can't give it the same amount of wiggle room, because if it wants to trap and start to grind back upside towards these levels that we talked about, it will. All right, so just be a little bit more aggressive with your stops. Be a little bit more aggressive with taking partials. Then if we get that break of structure, you can leave a partial on. You will want this candle right here to reject the previous wick. This needs to reject and go lower, otherwise you need to be stopping out in the remainder of what you have. All right, already provided you a 20-point trade right there for a scalp. So nice rejection so far. Remember, we talked about the VIX was coming into supply. It did fail up there at 77. It's now trying to base at 50. This is everything we talked about. Looking at the different charts, understanding how the market's trying to move. Is there any more sell continuation? Can the VIX base and move higher, or does it need a breather first? Hey, this is looking very good for the bear flag here. All right, so I would not want price to come above this wick, the one we talked about, this right here. Okay, and it rejected it at 23, so my stop would be there now. You are already up 20 points from the trigger point. You can always re-enter, all right? If it stops you out, you can always re-enter. Lovely continuation there. Right, you do not want bid support to start coming in and soaking. You want to see this really start to move down now. Lovely. Nice sell pressure. Looking good here. Looking really good. Here we go. Okay, so if you're looking for a partial, you should be thinking about a partial in and around this area. This is 600 psychological. Under that, we're looking for a break of the low of day and a sweep of that 82 to hold a runner. All right, ES is following suit. Looking for a break of that 82 for any continuation, which will be towards previous support. Okay, so yesterday, this is where we found afternoon support and the level we're at now. If we fail these levels, we can come and test yesterday's low of day. But for now, we are holding that afternoon support. I'm going to remind you, right, this was yesterday's support in the afternoon, right here. Right, this level. This is where we found support yesterday in the afternoon. Fail that, we can look for this previous day low. If we are going to trigger a squeeze here, all right, it's going to start to curl, and we can get a fast squeeze up here because on an M15, this is thin structure. Right, on an M15, you have the ability to price up into here. Just remember that. This is why I'm saying take your profits. Don't be scared of stopping out. You are not in a great location for shorts. We are looking for continuation, but the best location was much, much higher. You have some tapering here. Sorry guys, I just had to read an email from my tenant back in London. All right, you have some tapering here. This is the level we are looking to sweep, and we can trade upside all the way back up towards that IB low, 77, all the way back up here. This might be what we talked about. It might want to reprice all the way up, because if enough shorts got stuck at the low and were not aggressive with the stops like we talked about, the market will simply reprice back up, and then we will see if we get shorts enter back into the market in and around here. If they don't enter or they get squeezed, right, you have to be careful of this move. Here's the squeeze. The reason we're getting a squeeze like this is because that move down was so quick and aggressive. All right, so you get shorts chasing without the real smart money, institutional money, being able to get short in the position that they wanted. You now have the Fed talking as well, as a reminder. All right, so you now have some Fed talk, Fed speakers. You don't know what they're going to say. That increases the risk. It increases potential volatility into the market. All right, I'm going to give you 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to call it a day, guys. Anything you want me to cover in the last 5 minutes or go over before I leave you? No worries, Coop. Beautiful. Still holding this trend. Potential flag lower, but again, it has potential to squeeze. It is trying to make higher highs and higher lows on a lower time frame. All right. Higher high, higher low, higher high. So a higher low would be into here. If it can squeeze up, this would be max area. I would be looking for the squeeze move. Reclaim of that, we can think about inside IB. No worries, Penny. All right, I'm going to call it there. Hopefully you've got everything you need to trade if you're going to stick around. Just remember, look at the higher time frame levels, zoom out, understand where we are on the higher time frame. Okay, we are at key areas, old points of control, old H1 blocks, old trend or high time frame trend. Just remember that so that you'll make sure that you're trading in good areas. I will be back on tomorrow. I will try and do it most days now. For the guys in my room, I'll be there early tomorrow. My wife's back tonight, so we can get back to normal trading. Thank God. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. If you did, please drop me a subscribe and a like. If you want to learn how to trade like I do, check out the course. The link is in the description. There is a code currently. Use code YouTube. It will get you the course, 20 hours on demand, $399. It will get you the indicator that I use and another indicator as well. And it will also get you Discord for life. It's one-time fee, no subscription model. That's it. Until tomorrow, please, please, please trade safe. Peace out. Use hard stops.